Yo, yo, yo. Hey, guys, welcome back to another amazing edition of the Best Practices Show podcast. Our job is to bring you great solutions so you can use it right away. And happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope your week is off to a great start. And every Wednesday, our theme is practical solutions, things you can use right away. And today, I have on our Director of Education. Her name is Miranda Beeson, and she said, let's discuss the 3 biggest lies dentists tell themselves. Now, I'm going to warn you, this one is really good. And it's so powerful that if you get this right and don't tell yourself these lies, you can set yourself up for an amazing life. I really want you to listen to this. So please listen up, and we'll see you soon. Hey guys, welcome back to the Best Practices Show podcast. You know the jam around here. Our job is to give you some great thoughts from some incredible people in this great industry to help you create a better practice and better life. And I'm going to do exactly that with one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. Her name is Miranda Beeson, and she's an amazing coach here. And we're going to be talking about the thing that a lot of people don't talk about. It's the lies that dentists tell themselves, and there's 3 really big ones. So you're going to want to listen to this. So Miranda, thanks for being back. I always appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Now that you say it out loud, I feel like this sounds like it should be like a Bravo show or something.
Ooh, like I don't listen.
That dentists tell themselves.
Yeah, I don't listen to any of these, but I have family members that listen to these crime podcasts and like they get into these lies and like figure them all out. But this is going to be less drama and more to the point. So, yeah, no, this is a really, really, really great one because if you can see this when it's happening, you can call it out. Getting these wrong can put you on a trajectory that's not good. So, Miranda, let's go really high level and let's talk about the why before we get into them.
Sure. I love this topic because I think it's very real. And a lot of the things we're going to say today, you've probably said to yourself for dentists listening. And dentists are typically very logical people. You go through science. We're thinking with precision and logic on a regular basis. And underneath of all of that, there's things within running the practice that we tell ourselves that just aren't true. And we've been talking a lot this year about the E-myth idea of how do you be a leader, an entrepreneur, and a clinician all at the same time. And this does feed into that a little bit because when you're sitting chairside and you're the clinician, majority of the time, these stories start to come up in your mind around what's not happening over there or how this thing isn't working over there. And it's these little lies that start to become stories that we tell ourselves that ultimately aren't really intentional lies. There's where the drama gets debunked. But really, they're just limiting beliefs that might keep you stuck or stressed or feeling like you're behind the 8 ball. And so I think this matters because the stories that we tell ourselves, no matter what profession you're in, are what shape our reality. And so if we have the wrong beliefs, it's going to hold us back. It's going to drain our energy. It's going to stop us from creating that better practice and better life. So we need to look at what are these primary lies that doctors are telling themselves, these stories, these limiting beliefs, and let's put some action to how you can get to the other side of them.
Yeah, this is so good, Miranda. Now, these are not the lies, but I'm going to give you some examples. And an example might be, well, I got to be open on Saturdays and evenings to grow my practice. And you spend an entire life building Saturdays and evenings, and you give up, if you wanted a family, you give up all these things you wanted in an effort to serve your practice. That's a bad lie. Another one is I got to be on all these PPOs in order for me to grow, and we're going to talk about that. Another one is patients don't want to pay for dentistry anymore. Or the worst one ever is there's no great people out there. That's the worst one because then you start attracting no great people. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so we want to keep you on the rails here because they are self-limiting beliefs. I love this. This could be one of my favorite, and we haven't even done it yet. So like, all right.
So I say this, like, for everyone that's listening, if you have ever felt like, I should have all this figured out by now.
Right.
Like, no, you shouldn't. Like, again, these aren't these aren't the lies that we're going to talk about today either, but like, that's a self-limiting belief. You don't need to have it all figured out just yet. You're a high achiever. I get it. Dentists are high achievers. It can be frustrating to feel like you're spinning your wheels, especially when you see others doing something that maybe you wish you were there already. But again, if you feel like you should have had this figured out by now, if you feel like the weight of the practice is completely on your shoulders, right? You care about your team, you care about your patients, but sometimes you feel like you're the only one invested in making things work. This podcast is going to speak to you. If you feel like you're constantly busy, but not necessarily productive, right? You're running around on roller skates all day and you print the production report at the end of the day and you think, my gosh, I'm so much more tired than the dollar amount showing up on this daily report. It just seems like the effort you're putting in is never matching up to the progress that's coming out on the other side. If you feel like that at all, this podcast is going to speak to you, and we're going to talk about some of the lies or self-limiting beliefs that might be at the front of you feeling like that, and how can we help you to perhaps think in a different way so you can feel differently moving forward.
I love it. I love it. So let's go there. What's big lie number one?
So lie number one is, if I just work harder, everything will get better. Ooh. And I know, Kirk, you have a line for this. You often talk about like bigger isn't always better, work smarter, not harder. And that really is the truth. Hard work alone does not solve business problems. It just makes you more exhausted. And what I see as a coach and in this profession of being in practices for over 20 years is that's what most dentists do. Right? If something isn't going right, they roll up their sleeves and like, let's just work harder. Like you said, it might mean more hours. It might mean staying a little longer, working through lunch, picking up the slack for the assistant that maybe isn't meeting your expectations versus helping them to get where they need to go so that they can support you on a regular basis. The easier thing to do, and the self-limiting belief or lie we tell ourselves, is if I just work harder, everything will get better. What this looks like in your practice, again, working longer hours, adding extra days, taking on more cases, but still feeling financially strapped, doing everything yourself because you just don't trust other people to get it right. That one is a big one with our coaching clients. Yeah. And also feeling like you have to earn success through your sheer effort versus stopping and looking at, like, is there a smarter way to do this? And is there someone else that might be able to help?
Right. And so I could pile on. I'm going to try not to, because this is it makes sense. Like I just work harder, because working hard works up to a certain point and then it no longer works. And the problem is not thinking well. And it's really hard because there's so much information. You can see your buddy from dental school who just built the Taj Mahal with 19 operatories and he's crushing it. And you think that's success.
Or at least it looks like he is on Instagram.
Right. And so it makes sense. If I add more ops, I can produce more, but that doesn't always fix the problem. It makes sense. Multiply the producers. So I just need an associate or two, or maybe I could get 3 associates and then I don't have to work as hard anymore. And now I've got a more stable business, but that isn't always true either. So let's talk about how to fix this so I don't work harder hoping everything will get better.
So really you just have to step back and analyze your time and your energy. So we say all the time is the new rich. Time is a commodity. Your energy and effort is a commodity. So instead of just doing more, taking more time that maybe is even being taken from your personal life, like you mentioned earlier, in your family, and instead of taking more energy and effort that you don't have because you already feel depleted, instead focus on doing the right things in your practice. Not just doing everything, but doing the right things. And how do you know what the right things are? Really, you have to start with, what do you want your practice to become? And what do you want your life to become? Once you have a clear vision for what you want your practice to be and what you want your life to be, it's a lot easier for you to filter things through the lens of that vision and get a better idea of, is this the right thing for me to be doing? And once you know that, you can start to delegate and automate and systemize the things that are going to help you get to that vision and hit that goal. And now you're focusing all of your time and energy on the right things. So putting that strategy to your vision, create the vision, put a strategy to it, make the plan, and then figure out who is going to help with this. How are we going to do this? Document it so that you're not responsible for rolling up your sleeves and taking on everything. When you work the plan and you create repeatable systems, you're going to have a systems-driven practice, and you're going to be able to then have the great people that you elect to be a part of your team help fulfill those systems. So you talk a lot, Kirk, and maybe you can speak to that, about systems being an asset for your practice. Once you have that vision and you can create a plan for how we're going to get there, when you systemize those things that are the right things in your practice, it really does create an asset within your business that you're able to use for years to come.
So true. Miranda, this is so good. I have a lot of thoughts on this one too. So this is for you listening. Here's my real question. What are you building? Make sure you validate that this incredible plan you have is real, because some dentists are building this plan and I'm like, this is not going to give you what you want. You want more time away. You want more profit. You're already writing off 42%. This is going to make it worse, and you're going to want to sell. That's number one. Number two, people say, and I'm going to speak to the naysayer that might be listening, but Miranda, I'm so busy. You don't understand how busy I am. I'm so busy. Well, busyness is a focus issue. That's what our coach said. Most of the people that are too busy are focused on the wrong things. And what Miranda's talking about is when you're really clear, this is what a coach does. I'm just going to go there. A coach helps you validate that what you're building is going to work. This is going to work, because I build stuff. I help dentists build this all the time. And I'm going to keep you focused every single week on building the right things so that this comes to fruition. Now, you mentioned systems. This is where we put repeatable, scalable systems. People use the word scale. Well, scaling to scale, growth for the sake of growth is the ideology of a cancer cell. That's what a cancer cell does. Its focus is to grow. That growing is not a good plan. So if you're going to scale, or if you're going to create repeatable success, we want it to be around a clear plan that's been vetted. And I'll speak to this too. I'm a visionary. I have an amazing CEO. He's like, listen, before we build anything, you're going to validate this vision, because if you don't, we're going to go to work on all this crap that's not going to work in the future. So I love this. This is so true. Anything you would add to that before we go on to number two?
Well, when you just said that, it parallels with what we talk about all the time with your ideas. And a lot of dentists that I've worked with in the past also have great ideas, or they go to a conference or a convention or a virtual session and they learn about a new product or a new system or a new strategy. So yes, ideas are actually awesome. And a lot of those things can add a lot of value to your practice. So I also don't want anyone listening to hear just find your little path and stay on it. You can still explore new ideas and innovations into your practice. The goal for this and the how to fix it is making sure you pass it through that filter of, does this help me to get where I said I wanted to go?
Yeah.
Right. So if you go somewhere and they start talking about, a big thing that I talk to a lot of clients about is sleep therapy. That has become very popular in the last several years. And how does sleep? Great. I love that for you. And if you're passionate about that, let's talk about how that fits into this vision for your practice. Before you start taking, rolling up your sleeves, adding chair time, staying a little late because you don't have it built into your block schedule yet to see sleep patients. Your team doesn't know how to bill for it or how long you want to schedule appointments, how far apart. So you're just doing all the work trying to figure it all out versus stopping and saying, how does sleep integration fit into our vision? Okay, it fits. It takes us where we want to go. How do we create delegation and systems with our team so that I'm not the one who's going to have to put in all of the energy to make sleep work in our practice, which kind of does lean into lie number 2. I don't know if you want to just go there, but
let's go there. Yeah.
With that.
What's the big lie number 2 dentists tell themselves?
So lie number 2 that dentists tell themselves is, I'm the only one who truly cares about this practice.
Ooh,
now, sometimes you hear this
I'm
as
getting
like,
this
my
burning
team just
feeling in my
care.
gut. Yeah.
Yes. And I think there's times, sure, when there's team members here or there that aren't the right fit, right person, right seat, and maybe they don't. But I also think that your team may not care as much as you do because they don't own it. They don't have as much skin in the game. It's not their baby that they started from scratch. But that doesn't mean that they don't care at all. And what I find in working with teams and having been on teams for my whole career is that team members do genuinely care. When they stop caring is when they don't understand their connection to the vision and the outcome.
Right.
They really need clear expectations and strong leadership and accountability. And at the end of that, being able to see, how does what I do showing up every day actually bring meaning and value to where the practice is going? Because if I just show up as a hygienist and check the box and hang out with my friends, my patients I've been seeing for the last 12 years, and we chit chat and I do some hygiene, check the boxes, but I'm not tying that to the greater vision of where this practice wants to go, either by way of being innovative with service mix or possibly starting to, maybe I need to share with my patients that the doctor's starting to explore sleep and integrative medicine in the practice. Until your team knows what are the expectations, where are we going, and you can consistently lead them into this journey of understanding how meaningful and impactful their particular role is, they're not going to care as much. But as soon as they feel valued in the practice and they can know and understand how they're connected to where we're going, they're going to start to care a lot, and you'll see and feel the shift. What it looks like when you're telling yourself this lie, right? Like, I'm the only one who truly cares. You're feeling frustrated when team members don't show up with the same sense of urgency or detail that you do, or that you'd like them to. Maybe you haven't shared that expectation with them yet, but just naturally, they're not as invested. Taking on too much yourself because it seems easier than training others or waiting or trusting others to do it. Perhaps you have a team that doesn't, you're like, if I don't do it, they're never going to do it. But that doesn't necessarily ring true. Never doesn't necessarily, that's a very absolute versus stopping and reflecting. And we'll talk about how to fix it in just a minute. The other thing you might feel in your practice is just struggling to motivate your team to go a little above and beyond the basics, right? Like you say, we're in a team meeting, no one ever talks. No one speaks up. I'm talking the whole time. I don't even know why we're having team meetings. Or you show up to morning huddle and 3 people show up late and only 2 people have done their chart prep, and you're frustrated that they're showing up on a regular basis, just checking the box, but not really doing the work or going above and beyond. And what I would like to say is it's a self-limiting belief. It's a lie in a way because it could be different. And in practices all over the country, probably all over the world, there are team members who care and they show up and they go above and beyond.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I need 30 minutes in this one. So I'm just going to go there. So I had to speak at a conference last week, and they gave me the title of my presentation, which is How Do I Motivate My People? And I said this, I don't think you can. I think it's a bad question because I don't know if you can motivate people. My a better question is, what do your people have to be motivated about? Because if I had to come in here, I have 21 team members, and I had to motivate people every day, I'm just telling you, I'd be so miserable. It wouldn't even be fun. Now, number one, let's go back to the beginning of this lie. I'm the only one who truly cares about this practice. Let's go over the low hurdle, which is this. If you're hiring people that don't care at all, you're a bad hirer. You're probably a really terrible employer too. You know what I mean? The quality of people you're attracting to the job are the bottom of the barrel. My guess is if you're listening to this podcast, just like Miranda said, you are not that kind of person. You actually care. So you're actually hiring really good people. But at some point, they become disengaged. And I'm going to give you my opinion on this, and it's going to fit with Miranda's solution. Andy just shared this with me. He's like, patient experience doesn't get better until your team experience gets better. Mm-hmm. And let me go right there as a dentist. we have a lot of people that go to Spear, they go to Coyce, they go to all these great places, and they come back on fire about how they're going to change the patient's experience and they're going to change the world through how they're going to take care of patients. And they could not care less about how they meet with their team and how they bring them along on this journey. I spend $10,000 a week on CE, but zero for them. I'm hoping they'll get it by osmosis. Now, it's a little dramatic what I just said, but your focus is on the patients and this accreditation, this beautiful experience, and you don't spend any time with these amazing people that make it happen. The patient always comes second. Would you agree, Miranda?
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up because that was just a question and a topic in the BPA community just this week. Somebody asking about how do we balance taking care of the team with making sure the patient always comes first. And what immediately came to mind for me was what you just said, and you say often, which is the patient doesn't come first, your team comes first. And when your team comes first and they know that, and everyone knows what we're here for and what we're doing, and we'll lean in a minute to core values because that's part of the fix. We know what our core values are. We know what we're trying to create as a patient experience. You don't have to worry about putting the patient first anymore because the patient is going to have a paralleled experience to the culture that you're creating.
Right.
And so I think that you said that right on the money is when you lean in and focus on your team and really making sure that they feel valued and that they're tied to the work in a meaningful way, the patient experience is going to elevate automatically because your culture is going to elevate. And you said something else a couple of minutes ago when you were talking about being asked to do the lecture on how do you motivate your team. And it's funny because I was just talking to my girls last night, and some people listening may have heard me before. My girls play volleyball. My kids play volleyball, as does your daughter. And one of their coaches hands out stars at the end of practice. He just kind of willy-nilly, there's no rubric, there's no expectation, just kind of picks someone who he thinks that practice deserves this little iron-on star. And she hasn't gotten a star all season, and she is devastated. And I know she's doing a great job. She knows, because when we talk about it and I say, like, do you think you had a great practice? Yeah, I really do. Great. You don't have to wait. What I'm trying to teach my kids is you don't have to wait for external motivation to show up and do your best. And so if we can create that same mentality with our team, now this pulls from that leader circle. You have to really lean in to be an inspiring leader, not inspiring rah-rah cheerleader, but inspiring, like connecting with your team one-on-one and aligning around your values and helping them to see for themselves without needing the star to keep pushing them forward. Right. You don't want to have to be a leader that, we use the word micromanaging a lot, but I think a lot of times when a team member feels micromanaged, it's really just a leader trying to motivate people to do something. And external motivation is never going to be as effective as internal motivation. And we have to find out what internally motivates our team members. Might be a little different for each person, but in the end, what we do know is there has to be a connection to the work that we're doing and them personally feeling like there's meaning behind it. Yeah. Like that's going to be the only way to really get your team motivated.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, I don't know. I just, as you're saying all that, I think for me, it comes down to one thing. And Miranda works with me, so she has to deal with my crazy stuff. At the end of the day, you have to care more about your people than you do the practice. Like you really do. That's the bottom line. You got to care more about the people, because if you can show them that, you can still screw up and they'll go, it's not about money for him. He's still like, at the end of the day, you got to be empathetic. You got to be vulnerable. You got to be. And so, and when you do that, people will care more. So like the real issue is like, I'm the only one that cares. No, when you care about them, they will care more. And then you don't have to care most about the practice. You'll find that over time, they will care about the practice. Maybe not always at the level that you do. I think this is a focus issue for a lot. And it was for me. For me, when I first got started, I was so focused on the business and not so much the people. And so...
Well, and I think an easy thing to do to check yourself on that is to just stop and say, if I didn't have these people, would I still have this practice?
Right.
Like, no, like very few dentists are out there working by themselves in their practice. No front office team members, no assistants, no hygienists. It's just you and your practice. Probably not going to be highly successful. And so it really does take the team to get there. And so you have to stop every now and then. And, we talk a lot when we're with our To the Top study club community about gratitude. And these people could show up and go anywhere, but they choose to come to your practice. And when they're the right people in the right seats, and you're making those connections and helping to develop them within your practice, you're going to have this culture where everyone wants to show up. Yep. So that kind of leads us into how we fix it.
Wait, can I add one more thing?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I'm going to be the naysayer. Like, Kirk, Miranda, you don't know where I practice. Come on. You're talking about like getting all these people that you care about, and then they start caring about the practice. You can start anywhere from here, but you know how you build an amazing practice? It's with patients and team members. You build it one team member at a time, just one with values, one time, like do it one, and then you stay consistent, and then they bring another team member, because the higher quality that one team member becomes, they bring in the next one, and they bring in the next one. And now you have a higher bar for your conversation. So you might be thinking, well, I have 12 team members, 8 of them are disengaged. How do I get there? So 4 of them are engaged. Let's go to 5. Then let's go to 6. Then let's go to 7 team members engaged. And I tell you, if you go from that to 7 out of 12 being engaged, you're already doing more. Your team members are now caring about the practice in a way that you aren't. You're not micromanaging. We do this all the time.
They're getting stuff done over there that you didn't even know needed to get done. They didn't even tell you about it. You didn't have to ask about it. And that comes in time.
Love this. Let's go to lie number 3.
Well, I want to make sure I tackle how do we fix it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
No problem. So, we talked about inspiring commitment, and a big piece of this too is just clarity around expectations and having some goals so that they can create ownership. So when people understand the why their work matters, then they're going to be more engaged. And so I just wanted to lean into the actionables, which are establishing core values. Like, core values are key to culture. And your culture is what's going to ultimately show the behaviors that show up within your team on a regular basis. So if our core values, we talk a lot about, your king value is all in. And it matters a lot. And we talk about it a lot. And if somebody was not all in consistently, they would either weed themselves out or they would be shown out through a way of, if they're not able to develop into that, they're not going to stay here long. And so the same thing happens in your practice. If you have embracing growth as a core value and it's really important to you, but you have team members who don't really want to grow, maybe they're later on in their years and they're like, I just kind of want to, coast at this point. Or maybe they're a new graduate and they're just there for the money and making as much money as they can to pay off their student loans. And they're not in a place of embracing growth right now. Probably not the right fit for your practice. So you can get a lot of value out of your team members by just making sure that you have really clear core values and that the people you bring on board also believe in those same things. And tied into that on the other side is just the core purpose. What is our practice here to do? Why do we show up in this practice every day? What is the way that we want to make an impact on our community through this practice? And when you can put that in front of your team over and over and over, your core values and your core purpose, your core values and your core purpose, be the chief reminding officer. That's something you talk about often, is really making sure that on a regular basis, weekly team meetings, morning huddles, monthly check-ins, quarterly planning visits, annual summits, every time you have an opportunity, connect with your team and repeat to them that this is who we are, this is how we behave, and this is why we're doing this. You're going to make sure that everyone has that internal drive and motivation because they're going to believe in those same things.
Yeah, love it. And even in good times and bad times, be the CRO. And it is about values, but it's also like simple things that matter. Like we say better practice, better life. So Laura's been really sick this week, like really sick. And I'm like, don't come in. Like, she's like, well, I have a lot to do. I'm like, and I say the same thing if you guys were enacting. I always say there's no such thing as a coaching emergency. Like we're in dental coaching. There's no, like, we have to do our job well, but like, we don't have to, like, there's no emergency. Like, stay home, get well, take care of yourself. Like, We need you to be the best version of you before you come in. And those are things you as a leader. Now, one more thing. I'll just throw this in the room. We have a client, I won't mention his name, but I love him. And he has this phrase called hot, hot, hot. So when his team members are working hard, he'll scream hot, 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 hot. And that means home on time. I love that. Like, hey, I don't mind. That. I don't mind. Let's do it. Hot, hot, hot. And everyone's like, what's hot? Home on time. Get out of here. Go. Hot, hot, hot. I love that. So if you want a quick tip for this, like, look, put a hot call into your office, like hot, 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 get out of here, go home. Because it screams from the chief repeating officer, what matters around here? I got your back type of a thing. So good stuff. I love it. Love it. Let's go to line number 3, Miranda.
All right. Line number 3. And we hear this one a lot. I can't make more money unless I keep growing.
Oh
so
my gosh.
Doctors and dentists tell themselves this all the time. You alluded to it at the top of the podcast. You know, I need a bigger practice. I need another associate. I need more chairs. We got to produce more. We got to produce more. There's not enough money in the bank at the end of the day. And that lie that we're telling ourselves, that story, that limiting belief of I can't make more money unless I keep growing just isn't true. The truth is that more patients, more providers, more chairs, generally means more stress, more people that you're having to manage, which is already hard enough when you're in the chair clinically most of the time. It doesn't automatically mean more profit. And in fact, real profitability comes from differentiating yourself, keeping more of what you produce, and not just increasing volume. I see every day with coaching clients, we work with our GAPS scorecards. If you're familiar, if you've listened and heard us talk about GAPS before. And when I look at a GAPS scorecard from, I'll just give an example. I have a client who went out of network last year. So all of 2024, they were fully out of network, dropped their final insurance, big celebration, also scary. Great news, they survived and they're doing really well. But they are seeing less patient visits than they saw in years prior. They actually have one less dentist provider than they had in years prior. And they made the same, actually they collected a little bit more because their collections went up, but net produced about the same amount with less visits, less patients, one less dentist provider, purely by looking at the gaps within their practice and saying, we don't want to get bigger. We don't want to add more. We just want to make sure we're getting the most out of the effort and energy that we're putting in. So you know what? We're going to reduce some write-offs. We're going to make sure we're collecting 100% every single month so that we're getting everything that we can and should be getting out of what we produce. They're going to look at their overhead. They're going to look at their cash flow. And at the end, they actually put less effort in, but gained more at the end of the day in terms of profitability. So in your practice, a lot of times when you're telling yourself this lie of, I can't make more money unless I keep growing, you're believing that the only way to increase revenue and money in the bank is to add more patients, expand hours, add an associate, build a bigger practice, more. And we can't blame you because that's the message that you hear a lot in our profession. You go into platforms and Facebook and journals and whatever else, and you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it at conferences. But there's another message to how you can get revenue. And that's what we're talking about here, which is you don't have to increase volume. We just have to make sure that we're getting everything out of the practice and differentiating ourselves in a way that people want to keep coming back for more, and we're providing a higher level of value. You might feel stuck in this cycle of high production, low profitability. I'm working so hard and I'm just not making money. I guess I just need to work harder and produce more. But chasing growth in that way, instead of focusing on simplifying and, again, differentiating the quality of our services, which is going to then allow for us to make more in the end without having to put more effort out there.
So well said. My gosh. I want to go there. If you're a dentist listening, okay, let's just go there. The problem with lie number 3 is the word more. So people say, I want to make more money. Okay, one of the fundamental things you have to do is figure out, what does that mean? As a dentist, you got to decide, how much money do I want to make? And that means deposit into my personal account. Now, I'll already tell you the government's going to take 41% of that. So you got to decide, like, how much money can you be happy? The word just can't be more, because now you're chasing a false proxy. It's just got to be more. And that becomes super dangerous. Now, caveat number 2. Miranda could do this. Any of our coaches could do it. You can give me any number. Just throw in, I'm going to make up a number. Let's say you're a dentist listening and you go, I want to make $500,000 a year. And my next question is, what do you want to give up to do that? Well, I want to work 180 days instead of the average GP that works 220 days. I promise you, I can show you exactly how to do that. Like, exactly. Now, you're still going to have to do the work and build the practice and all that kind of stuff, but I can tell you exactly how to do it and do it 180 days. That's what the GAPS formula is all about. It shows you exactly how to create that. And let me go to the next thing that complexifies, if that's a word, makes more complexity out of, I can't make more money unless I keep growing. People tie money to what they produce. Do you know what I mean? So it's natural. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. When I got started, that was inherently true. If you produce more, you could produce yourself out of certain overhead jams. Like, you could double your production and double your profitability if your costs stayed relatively the same. That is not true today. So you have to decide how much money you want to make. How much do you want to give up in order to do that? What do you want your life to be like? Because if you're the other side of the fence, like Miranda said, and you're watching all your buddies, you got another associate and another practice, you're spreading yourself thin just to grow top line. And at the end of the day, you're not making as much money as a dentist who's keeping it really simple, working 180 days a year, going to the beach 2 times every quarter. At the end of the day, it's life. We only get so many days on this planet. Who cares how much money you make? I want you to make a lot of money, and we can help you make a lot of money, but don't give up your life to try to make this thing called more. So, oh my gosh, I better stop there. So Kirk,
without going into the details, because we would need another 35 minutes to talk about gross production versus net production and actual collectible revenue on our, effort that we're putting out there. You started doing Metric Mondays not too long ago with Barrett, and they've been amazing. And the first couple of Metric Mondays speak to this. So if you haven't listened to those podcasts, go back, because the first one that you guys talk about is days worked and how that is such a valuable KPI that most practices are not measuring. Because ultimately, when it comes to us, we think it's important because our goal is helping you have a better practice so you can live a better life. And you're not living a life if you're spending the bulk of it in your practice. And so when you look at days worked, that is a key element to our coaching process to try to help doctors to live a better life. And then right after that, you guys dig into gross production and why that KPI isn't really as telling as we may think it is. Because like you've said before, you can show up at a conference and network with your buddies and you're a $4 million practice and they're a $4 million practice in gross. But if they're writing off 40% and you're writing off 5%, one of you is taking home a lot more money at the end of the day because you have more collectible productivity than the other. And so those Metric Mondays really speak to that. And obviously, when we talk about our GAPS process, it really digs into this too. But that's really the fix for this whole piece of, I have to grow more if I want to make more, is step number 1, think about what differentiates you. And go through, we have a PPO roadmap. Actually, in the BPA, we have a short quick start course to that PPO freedom that helps you work through if you were to look at your adjustments and say, maybe I do want to start stepping away from a couple of these lower paying plans where I'm giving away a lot more of my effort than I'd like to be. Start with differentiation, looking at what is unique about you and your practice, your culture, the services that you provide, the philosophy of care that you provide, and how can we lean into this differentiation that we have to create value with a subset of patients that want to be here with us. And even when we say, I'm not a part of that PPO anymore, but you can still come here and we're going to take great care of you, they stay because they can see and feel what's unique about you and your practice. Because when you can start keeping more of what you produce, you don't have to produce more. So that's the big piece around how do you fix this lie or this self-limiting belief is before you go down that path of doing more, adding more, managing more people and more space, stop and say, what's happening right now within our practice? Are we writing off too much? Are we not collecting everything that we could be? Are we spending more than we should be? Where can we start to squeeze on some of these gaps and shrink them down to where we might be able to put more money in the bank without adding more stress and more people and more chairs?
Yeah. So this lie, number 3, I can't make more money unless I keep growing, leads to other lies that actually fall apart. I was in a kitchen one time with a dentist and a spouse. This dentist was growing his practice as much as he could and was away from his family a lot. I walked in the kitchen. He's trying to convince his wife, we're going to do coaching because I need to. And he says, I work my you-know-what off I am doing this for us. And she said, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. You work so hard and we never see you for us. The lie was, I got to build all of this so I can be home more, and don't get into that situation. I'm here to tell you, because our job is to be helpful and truthful. You can fix all of this if you think correctly about your practice. You can make a lot of money and not have to give your life away to do that. I'll finish with one thought, and Miranda's going to give us some final takeaways. Time is the new rich. I'm going to say that forever. I don't care how much people make. I don't care how much they produce. I don't care how big or cool their practice is. I don't care what accreditation. I don't care how many patients. It doesn't matter. The people that have the ability to do what they want with their time are the richest people I've ever met in dentistry, and it's the greatest secret. So Miranda, give us some final takeaways on this.
Absolutely. You just made me think of Alice Hale, by the way. Shout out to Alice Hale in our
Shout out Alice.
Her KPI that she brags about to everyone is her days worked, and she loves her life, and she's at her kids' wrestling matches and she travels with them. And she's quick to tell you that she had to make that change. And when she did, it's really changed her whole life, which is awesome. And she's a really fun person to be around too, if you ever get a chance to meet Alice Hale.
100%.
Final takeaways. Okay. So here's your takeaways from this. Stop equating hard work with success. Now, I know that sounds a little oxymoronic because we have to work hard, right, if we want to be successful. And from a hyperachiever like me, trust me, it feels weird to say that out loud. But what I mean by that is work smarter, not harder, right? It's the success is going to come from doing the right things and putting the right focus and effort and energy in the right places. So when we focus on the highest impact areas of our practice, we're going to have a higher level of a success, and we don't have to work harder to get there, which was that lie number 1. And also lead your team with clarity, right? Not frustration. Like I mentioned, a lot of people feel very frustrated by their teams and what they perceive as a lack of engagement, or maybe there is a real lack of engagement there. They're not going to necessarily care to the level that you do. And it's probably not realistic to expect that because they don't have the same skin in the game that you do. But with the right culture, with clear expectations, with that consistent messaging of who we are, how we behave here, and what we're trying to create, they will start to attach to the meaning within what we're doing every day and be more invested in the success of the practice and in your success. They will be your champion in the end. And then the last thing to take away is that profitability isn't just about seeing more patients. Differentiating yourself, taking control of your fees and your write-offs and how much you're collecting is going to get you there faster. Stop relying on volume to grow your bottom line. And like you said, Kirk, decide what your bottom line needs to be. What do I want to save and put in the bank or back into my practice every month, and work backwards and look at those gaps and say, what can I do with what I'm already doing and with the chairs I already have to get more out of this practice rather than increasing volume or space or time or providers.
That was so good, Miranda. And I'm just going to say this to you as a listener. If you're struggling with any of this, we want to be helpful. Like, we can help you with this. And there's a couple ways we can do that. And Miranda's our director of education. So I want you, but we created what's called the Best Practices Association. And it's something that we believe in so strongly. We want to leave this profession in a better place than we found it. And it's a very helpful way where you can be surrounded by great people and you can ask questions. You can be vulnerable. You can go, hey, listen, I'm struggling with this. And you're going to see you not only have us, but you've got an incredible community of people with the same values that are out there to help you. So what else? We have a couple other tools, Miranda. Can you just share with our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can join the Best Practices Association for free and be in our basic space where you can watch podcasts like this, webinars, masterclasses, other events that we provide to be helpful to you. You can join us as a premium member where you also then have access to all of the resources that we have under our arsenal, and those conversations with other clinicians and providers just like you. With this podcast, we do want to share with you a few tools, though, that come from that resources in our BPA. The Strategic Vision Creator is going to definitely help to make sure that you are focused on the right things. When we talked about not working harder, but instead making sure your effort's on the right things, when you lean into making sure you have a clear vision for what you want for your practice in your life, you're going to be able to make those choices easier. So we do have a brainstorming worksheet tool that helps walk you through that. It's called our Strategic Vision Creator. We also have a tool that helps you to define your core purpose. If you can't answer and your team doesn't know why you guys show up every single day, we can't expect anyone to be excited to be there, including you. Totally. So lean into identifying your core purpose and your why, what it is that you show up for every single day in your practice, and we can help with that tool. And then lastly, is the differentiation tool. We talked about if you don't want to have to do more, start setting yourself apart and differentiating yourself within the industry from the people down the street so that you can start making some of those tweaks within your business where you can make more without having to grow or do more. So those are a few tools that we'll share with you right now. And then as also, like I mentioned, if you go into the free space in BPA, just download the app or go to join.actdental.com. You can see the desktop version. There's a PPO Freedom Quick Start course that you can work through that walks you through the mindset as well as all the way down to identifying where your adjustments and write-offs come from so that you can start to evaluate, is there something more that you want to do within your practice to help alleviate some of your stress and hopefully free up your life a little bit.
So good, Miranda. That is so awesome. And we're always here to help, myself and Miranda. And then if you become part of the BPA, you're going to meet one of three people or all three of them. We have Lindsay back there, who's the concierge. We also have Courtney, who can help you, and Gina back there. We will help you every step of the way. So you're not alone. We got your back on this. Miranda, that was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
It was so much fun. So stick around while we say goodbye to everybody else. But you guys, this is the greatest profession ever. It's so noble and it's so great. You can pick any path and you can make it happen. That's what's so cool about dentistry. Our job is to help you, to light the way. Keep showing up. We're going to keep bringing it. And join us in the BPA, where you're going to be surrounded by some incredible people. Don't even think about it. Go to the Apple Store or Google Play right now and search Best Practices Association and start the journey for free. There's nothing better than starting it for free and get back the joy that you've always wanted. So until we see you guys next time, or you hear from us next time, keep watching or keep listening to the Best Practices Show. You guys enjoy your day.